Hi there, I'm Math Mom, and today we're going to be talking about fractions, specifically
fractions to decimals,
and then decimals
to fractions.
Decimals back to fractions, that's right. Now, here we've got a fraction that we normally call 1/2. What does this line here actually mean?
Division.
Yeah, it means division. This is exactly the same as saying 1 divided by 2. Now, how about we calculate this?
Okay.
1 divided by 2. So we have our 1, and then we have our division symbol there, and we're going to divide it by 2.
Math, Mom, isn't it 2 divided by 1?
Good question, honey. It's always the numerator divided by the
denominator.
Right? What's the numerator? The numerator goes inside our division, our long division sign. Okay? So the numerator divided by the denominator. The numerator divided by the denominator. Okay? So, honey, real quick, if we had a fraction that was 34 divided by 8, 34 over 8, I'm giving you the answer. How would we write this for a division?
It would be 34.
On the inside of our long division sign. And then what goes here, honey?
8.
Yeah, because it's the numerator divided by the denominator. The numerator divided by the denominator. Okay. Sorry, I thought that you'd always remember that. All right, now, how many times does 2 divide into 1?
0. 0.
Okay, let's put that there. 0 times 2?
0.
And 1 minus 0?
0. 1. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, what do we do next? We have to bring down?
0.
Good. Now, how many times does 2 divide into 10?
5 times.
And where does the 5 go, honey?
Beside 0. 0.
Good, up here. Now we have to add our decimal because we're not dealing with whole numbers anymore. We're dealing with decimals. We have our little decimal mark there. So 5 times 2 is?
10.
And our remainder is?
0.
Okay. Now, what's 1 divided by 2 that we just calculated?
0.5.
Ta-da! Look what we've done. We've had a fraction of 1/2, and it's exactly the same as, it's equal to, this fraction here, 1/2, 1 divided by 2, 1 divided by 2 is equal to the decimal of?
5. 0.5.
Good, 0.5. We've got quality control on that side. Excellent. Now, we've gone from a fraction to a decimal. What happens when we have, how do we go from a decimal to a fraction? What if now we already know the answer, but let's look at how this works the other way. Say we have a decimal of 0.5, and on a test, you're asked to calculate what that is as a fraction. Can you look at that and say it's a half?
No.
No. Okay. Now remember from our decimals video, each position on the right-hand side of the decimal has a value for the denominator. Okay? I don't know if you remember this. I sure hope so. What's the first position after the decimal called?
Tens.
Yeah, the tenths.
Tens.
What's the second position after the decimal called?
Hundreds.
Excellent.
And you need to remember to say it with an F.
Yeah, and hundredths. I don't even know if I've spelled that right. Okay, so, and then thousands and blah, 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 right? We keep adding a 0. So what we have for our decimal of 0.5, that's actually the same as 5/10. Okay? Because this is the first position after the decimal is tenths. So the denominator is 10. Now, we can write our 5/10 as an equivalent fraction. What's an equivalent fraction that's the same as 5/10?
A half?
Why, honey?
Well, because 5 divides into 10. 2 times, and 5 is a half of 10.
Good, that's one way of explaining it. It's an equivalent fraction of 1/2 because 5 divides into itself once, and what we do to the numerator, we do to the denominator. We can divide this by 5, and what we do to the
Bottom, we do to the top.
exactly, and we divide that by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So what we have is our decimal of 0.5 is equal to 5 over 10, which is equal to 1/2. So we've gone from our decimal back to our fraction. Okay?
Okay.
Too fast? Should we do another, should we use some other easy fractions as
Sure.
another example?
Okay.
Okay. Let's use, what do we normally call that fraction?
3/4.
I normally call it 3/4. Okay, 3/4, that's the fraction. And what's another way of saying this fraction?
3 divided by 4.
Yeah, 3 divided by 4 because it's the numerator divided by the denominator. So if we calculate this, we have 3 inside our long division sign. And what goes here, honey?
Or 4.
Yeah. 3 divided by 4. Good. Now, how many times does 4 go into 3?
It doesn't.
Okay, so what do we write up here, hon?
The 0.
Good. 0 times 4?
It's 4.
Oh, you said that last time. That's okay. A little slow. Yeah, okay. Let's pretend. Let's erase. 0 times 4?
0.
Okay. And 3 minus 0?
3.
Now, we need our decimal, right?
Yeah.
Because now we're going into our decimals. Now, we have a 0 here. We bring that down. How many times does 4 divide into 30? Think, even though you should know the multiplication tables. And the answer is 4.
7 times.
Oh, took it forever. Okay,
Oh.
good. 7 times 4 is?
28.
Okay. 30 minus
2.
28. Okay, and now what do we do?
Bring down the 0.
Bring down another 0.
Because we have to keep bringing down
Yeah, until
we get our answer.
Exactly, until there's no remainder.
Yeah.
Okay. Not all fractions divide nicely, so that some you can keep on going. It's way too many decimal places, but I've chosen a simple fraction. Now, how many times does 4 divide into 20? Oh, come on, you guys.
5 times.
Oh, good. And where does the 5 go, hon?
At 5 is 7.
Great. Now, 5 times 4 is?
20.
And we have 0 remainder. So 3/4 is the same as 3 divided by 4, and we just calculated that to be
0.75.
Good. So we've gone from a fraction to a decimal. All right?
All right.
Okay. Now, why don't we just double check this and go back the other way, and you can see how fast it is when, okay, let's do our decimal of 0.75. Say that's the decimal that you're given on a test, and you're asked to write that as a fraction. What's the first position?
The tenths.
And the second position?
Hundredths.
Excellent. So 0.75 is exactly the same as 75 over?
0.
You really like 0 today. Honey, the denominator is 10th hundredths.
Oh.
Denominator is?
100.
Exactly. Now, if you wrote this answer on a test, it would be correct, but normally you should write the fraction in its lowest form, okay? So what's an equivalent fraction that is the same as 75 over 100?
75 divided by 100.
Well, sure. Okay, that's when we're going from a fraction to a decimal, but now I want to go from a decimal to a fraction. What's the number that divides into 75 and divides into 100?
5.
5 does. Okay, so if we divide this by 5,
Sir.
hang on, we're going to do this. Do you want to, okay, did you want to jump ahead? What were you going to say, honey?
18 on the top, 18 24ths.
Oh, I don't know if that's correct. It might be. I don't know. I can't do this in my head. How many times does 5 go into 75? Because we're going to divide 75 by 5. Here is what, right?
15.
Okay. That sounds right. 15. And how many times does 5 go into 100?
20.
Okay. So we're writing our equivalent fraction
Sorry,
as 15 over 20.
Like, too bad.
No, but yeah, just don't do it again. Okay. Now, can we reduce this further? 15 over 20. What's the number that can divide into 15 and divide into 20?
20.
Honey, 20 doesn't fit into 15.
5.
Good. Let's divide by 5 again. Divided by 5. Okay, 15 divided by 5.
3.
And 15, what we do to the?
Bottom, we do to the top.
Yeah, what we do to the numerator, we have to do to the denominator. We have 20 divided by 5, and that gives us?
4.
Hey, hey, look where we are. We're back at 3/4. Pretty fancy, huh?
Yeah.
We have our decimal of 0.75. And on a test, if you had to write that decimal as a fraction, you would begin by writing 0.75 as its, oops, sorry, that's an ugly 7, 75 over 100 in its fraction form, and then you would reduce that to its lowest possible form as an equivalent fraction of 3/4. So we've gone from a decimal to a fraction. And here we've gone from a fraction to a decimal. Is that good enough for today?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.